Let's talk about adding and subtracting fractions right now. There is a rule when you're adding and subtracting fractions. You can only add or subtract the numerator, so the numbers that are on top. And we can only add and subtract them when the denominator is the same. So in our first question here, 1/5 plus 2/5, that one is nice because all of the numbers are over the common denominator of 5. So we're going to just add 1 and 2, and we get 3/5. However, when we have a question like this, 4/6 plus 1/3, the denominator is not the same. Now, we need to write 1/3 as an equivalent fraction so that this is exactly the same as the denominator of 6. So I could say that 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6, which would make it have the same denominator. Now, what I did here is I multiplied the bottom by 2 and I multiplied the top by 2. This way, these fractions are now the same. Part B, this is the little aside. Let me rewrite the question now. I have denominator of 6, and my first numerator is 4. The second numerator is 2. As a whole, I have 6/6. And 6/6, if I simplify it, is equal to 1. Part C. Part C, none of these have the same denominator, and there's no way I can convert a 4 to a 5. I also can't convert a 5 to a 4. So one thing I can do, if you can't find the lowest denominator, you could just multiply the denominators together to get the number that you want. Okay, so let's take this one, part C. Part C, I'm going to multiply it so that my denominator is 20. For 4 to get to 20, I multiplied it by 5. The top, I'm going to multiply it by 5 as well. So I now have 15/20. The second one, we have 4 times 4, because I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 4 to get our common denominator. So 4 times 4 is 16. Now this one is a subtraction question. The numerator is -1/20. -1/20, it's the same as saying, I could say -1/20. Or I could say 1/-20. All of this is the same thing. Okay, the last question we have here, 1/2 minus 8/7. So remember in the previous part, we said that mixed numbers are used when we're speaking. But if we're using math, we can't have mixed numbers. We need to convert the mixed numbers to an improper fraction. So let's make 1/2 into an improper fraction. So we have 3/2 is equal to 8/7. Both of these are improper fractions now. we need to find a common denominator. So 14 would work. I'm going to multiply everything in our first fraction by 7, the top and the bottom. And then in this one, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So 14 is our numerator. 3 times 7 is 21. And with our second fraction, we're multiplying it by 2. So we have 16. Now simplifying, 21 minus 16 is 5 over 14. Okay, try these questions on your own. Questions 1 to 7. And you can check your answers right here. Pause the video and try these questions. Now, what if we have mixed numbers and what if we have integers? We'll need to simplify the integers here before we can do any operations with it. Now remember, if I have two subtractions, really it means it means an addition. So I'm going to rewrite my question. 3.5 minus minus, which means plus, 2 and 5/8. Now let's rewrite this as not as mixed numbers. Let's convert the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So my denominator is a 2, my numerator is a 7, and I'm going to add it to 21 over 8. Now, the next part, I need to find a common denominator. The common denominator here would be an 8. That would be our lowest common denominator. Now, if you couldn't find 8, you could just simply multiply these two together. But I'm going to say if I multiplied the first fraction by 4, I have an equivalent fraction. So let's rewrite this. I have 8, and the numerator is 7 times 4. That's 28 plus 21 over 8. And then when we add it together, we have 49 divided by 8. Leave your answer as an improper fraction, and that's good to go. Now you'll notice that the way I wrote the math is each row only has one equal sign. Math language is kind of written downwards. Instead of going left to right like you would when you're writing something in English, we're going to write downwards. Each step, you write a new equal sign and you simplify it. Write an equal sign again and write the simplified version until you get to the very end. Let's do our second question now. Second question, 5 minus 3/8. Now, 5 isn't a fraction. We need to make 5 a fraction. We remember that 5 can always be made a fraction if I make it 5 over 1. 5 over 1 minus 3/8 is our fraction. Now let's get our common denominator. We have a common denominator of 8. The first part, I had to multiply the top and the bottom by 8. So I have 40. And the second fraction, nothing changes. I've just rewritten the minus 3. Now, my denominator is still 8 and the numerator is 37. Now, try these questions on your own